Good morning and welcome to everybody. I'm Kathleen Donahue, and so today is session 2 of our 6-part series, Simple Steps for Starting Your Business. So we can see who the hardcore folks are who want to hang in here with us. We do have a number of mentors here as well with us today, so they'll be available for us in some of our breakouts and other exercises, or if you have questions and you're looking to meet somebody here, they may be able to help you out somewhat. Okay, so let's get started here. Okay, so if you haven't already gotten it, remember that the workbook, you can download that. That will have all of the materials that I'm talking about. So if you want to follow along with something as we're going through the lectures, that's available to you. In addition to that, if you haven't already joined our Slack page, I really encourage you to do that. I have the exercises that we're going to be doing posted there, so you're going to need to go there to get those documents and do the exercises that we're going to do in the session. It's also a way for you to stay in touch with your classmates and with me between classes and even after class. So one of the downsides of working in a virtual classroom like this is that we don't get the chance to meet face to face and network with some other folks. So the Slack channel gives you an opportunity to do that. And you're going to find that you need, as a new business owner, you need to take advantage of every resource you can possibly access, including other business owners. And I encourage you to reach out and make friends with other people who are starting businesses, because they are going to also be a rich source of information and occasional sanity checks. So I will keep that Slack group open even after we finish our class at the end of the 6 sessions, so that you can stay in touch with each other and access resources and things like that. And you can post. So if you've never used Slack, it's essentially like a private social media session for just a specific group. So this group is only people who've signed up for this class, and you can post documents, you can private message or public message. The other thing that's really nice about Slack is that it gives us a chance to have some channels, so that the channels are different topics. So there's one set up, for example, for marketing or technology or finances and stuff like that, so that if you have specific questions or information that you want to post, you can do it there. And you're welcome to share your own materials. And you know, if you have anything that's useful, you find a useful link or something like that that you think would be helpful to other people in the class, then please do take advantage of that. So today we're going to be working on the business concept. So this is the second of the 6 pieces. I just want to remind you that we at SCORE here are we're a volunteer group, and we work in association with the Small Business Administration, which of course is a federal service agency. It's underneath the Department of Commerce, and our roles, there are I think 10 or 15,000 mentors throughout the country, 350 chapters. We are coming to you from the Bucks County chapter, though not everybody here in our classes is from Bucks County. We have some people, since we're virtual, we can reach out to people in other places. So there are some people who are not from Bucks County who are registered for our class. But what we're going to encourage you to do is take advantage of the service that we provide to people, which is mentoring and helping people deal with their individual problems in a relationship with them. Usually we work in pairs or sometimes as individual mentors, but there's a whole team of us, and we work really closely with each other and call on each other because we all have different areas of expertise. So for example, my colleague Charlie, who is our admin for this session, He's got his camera turned off right now, but you can see his name up there in the top corner. He's our super techie guy, and we go to him for all of our technical questions, especially us older people who are, getting a little addled about keeping the technology straight. And marketing, and we have other people who specialize in finance or have owned retail businesses or banking, worked with banking. And so we have a lot of different people that we can draw on for the expertise that we need to give you the expertise that you need. So what we're hoping for you in this class is that you're going to take this seriously as a workshop. So this is not a webinar. It's not something where I'm just going to talk for an hour and a half and you can take notes or not or what have you, but to actually do some of the work to start building a business plan. And so we're going to be working in some breakout sessions, and there's a place for you to post your material. But I hope that you will also, if you haven't already got a mentor, that you will get one, so that you can work individually on the specific things that are related to your business. So just a show of hands, and you do this by going into the participant button. Nope, sorry, not the participant button. Where's the button where people can raise their hands?
That's under the reactions button.
Oh, okay. So under the reactions button to raise your hand if you already have a mentor. So let's see, I see 4, but I can't see everybody. Are there more? Excellent. So if you haven't gotten one yet, then I urge you to do that. You have 2 ways of doing that. You can go on our website and, there's some search tools and you can search individually for mentor, but you don't have to. We can help find you a mentor who's a good match for you. Just push the request a mentor button on our webpage, and my colleague Al, who's also in this class, will contact a mentor to say, we have this new client who's requesting a mentor, and that mentor will get in touch with you and we'll set up a time to meet. These days, of course, we're meeting by Zoom or telephone. We also email, but we are not meeting in face-to-face because, that's a dangerous thing to do these days. Someday we'll get back to that. Any questions so far? All right. So last week we talked about creating a vision statement, and I also asked you to take a look at the handout for Anne's Nursery, because that is an example of a business plan, sort of what we're shooting for. So does anybody have any questions or had any thoughts about creating their vision? So this is kind of the building block from which everything else is going to develop when you're building a business. And it's the same with any kind of endeavor or project or what have you, that we start out with understanding what our vision is, and then everything kind of expands from that. In project management, we called it progressive elaboration, which I always thought was a pretty elegant term, meaning that we take something and we go deeper and expand from that, right? So nothing has to come out of whole cloth, and we're going to take the first step and then expand on that to develop the steps that go on further from that. So today what we're going to be working on is developing a business concept, which is an expansion from that vision statement. And we're also going to start looking at some data to understand our client and get ready to start the work that we're going to do over the next couple of weeks, which will be the marketing sections of the business plan. So we'll focus on the first part is going to be called Capturing Your Dream, and then developing the feasibility plan draft. We're going to do some profiling about the industry, customers, and competitors, and we're going to talk about data collection. And that's going to be one of your homework assignments for next week, is that you're going to go out and start doing your own competitive research and be prepared to come back with that so that we can figure out how to use that information. And of course, as you come up with questions, we'll help you get individual answers to those. So you probably recognize many or all of these names, right? What do these guys all have in common? You have to unmute.
They're all successful.
All right.
Sorry?
They're all successful.
Well, they're all very successful. They've all created some pretty magnificent businesses that very often change the world, right? So Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they both, brought computers into our homes. And they're enabling our ability to, communicate and do all the work that we do right now. Richard Branson has formed a myriad of different kinds of business, music, airlines, all kinds of stuff. Walt Disney and Steven Spielberg in the entertainment industry, Oprah, not only entertainment, but, other kinds of self-help and media publication, Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart. All of these people started with this smaller idea that they want to create. And in fact, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were in school when they started their ideas. So if there were no obstacles in your way, what would be your ideal business? So what I'm going to do now is we're going to break out into some teams, and Charlie's going to pair you with some other people. And so this is a chance for you to discuss one-on-one, what is it that is really ideal about this business? I'm going to offer you an alternative, which is a practice called inquiry, where you can kind of go a little bit deeper by asking each other, tell me a reason why you want to own your own business. Okay, and the way you do that is you go back and forth. So one of you asks the question, the other one answers it. You say thank you, and then the person who just answered the question asks the other person, tell me a reason. And you just keep going back and forth. And the idea is to get deeper and deeper into, what is the, what are those things that you haven't actually verbalized yet about why this is important to you. Okay, so I'm going to go into some breakout rooms.
All right.
Hello, everybody. All right. So, anybody care to share anything you learned in our breakout session?
I think one of the things from the actually in my session, 2 of us were mentors and 2 of us were I guess you'd say clients, if such a thing. One person I recommended to contact Score, and I think we could help her. And the second one has a really interesting digital publishing business. And we were talking a little bit about that.
Wonderful. Yeah. Anybody feel like talking about your vision has helped you to expand your thinking a little bit? You're going to need to come up with a message for how you're going to portray your business to people. So this is a good first practice because you're going to do this a lot. Right? I see Lisa nodding her head. Lisa's been in business actually for 20 years, so she knows from whence I speak. Yes, Lisa? Yeah. So she's revitalizing her business because her business has been a face-to-face business, and she's shifting over into the virtual world. But I'll let her tell you more about herself in other sessions. Okay, let me get my slides back up here.
Can we take a break from the
Anybody else have anything else that you would like to comment about? Any, observations, emotional outbursts?
I would just like to say that even though I have been in business for a really long time, I feel like I am starting over, and I am like vision casting and rebranding and doing all the things that a startup would do, evaluating my mission statement and my values as a business and as a person, and making sure that everything is in alignment with who I am now versus who I was when I started my business 20 years ago. And so I'm right there with everybody else who's just starting out as far as that stuff goes, you know?
I
Thank
agree.
you.
Thank you.
I think on that note, I would like to add something. I think every business is reinventing itself on a daily basis. And the day they stop reinventing themselves, that's the day that they start their path to when either they themselves or somebody else would force them to shut down. So yes, it is very important to stay up to date on, even if you are in a business and even if you're not, constantly keep looking for what are the new trends in how marketing, financing, product development in related field is happening. And that could be very valuable even to recognize uh, derivative or the byproducts of what your main offering is.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I think that's a really good point. I know my business evolved a lot over the 20 years that I was doing that, and yeah, sort of like a marriage. I had a friend one time, and she had married quite young, and we were at lunch with a group, and somebody said, "Boy, what's it like? You've been married to this person for so long." She goes, "I'm not married to the same person." She said, "He's completely different than he was when we got married 30 years ago. I'm completely different. We're two entirely different people." She said, we have a whole new different marriage, and it's constantly been evolving, and it's the same as your relationship with your business will be, is that's going to evolve too. Michelangelo said, "I'm still learning." So I figure if he was still learning, I am merely a student, not the master.
Okay.
All right. All right. So we'll move on then to the next part, which is to start coming up with a feasibility plan. So feasibility means, is this viable? Will this actually do what I need it to do? And so what we need to be able to create are the criteria that determine, is this a good idea or not a good idea? So I've mentioned that, my career was that I was a project management professional. I taught and consulted in project management. And one of the things that even the body of knowledge really didn't give enough depth to was the idea of what I call kill criteria. And kill criteria mean that this is where I say, this isn't working, I have to make a change or even stop doing this. So what are the things, what are the signals, the things that are telling you that I can't continue on the path that I'm on. I have to revise that path, or this is not going to be acceptable or successful. And this is really important if this is a business where you're trying to make a living. Right. So you need to create something that is going to sustain you. And making money is important because it enables you to stay in business. Even if you're, running a nonprofit or something that you feel like you're doing this as a service to the world, you can't sustain this if it can't sustain itself. So it needs to be able to figure out how to feed itself and how to grow. And so starting to understand, what are your success criteria? What are the things that enable you to say this is success versus this is not going to be sustainable, is really important. So you need to have this passion to do whatever it takes to make your business grow, and at the same time to have this hard objective reality that says, yeah, this isn't working and I'm not going to be deluded by it. I need to make some changes. Okay. May feel a little harsh, like I'm killing my baby, but sometimes that's what we have to actually do.
Mm.
Okay. So we've got a tool called the Business Concept Outline, and this is going to be the first tool that we're going to use to start fleshing these things out. If you go back and you look at the boilerplate Ann's Nursery business plan, you're going to see that all of this stuff is fleshed out, in sentences and paragraphs. Especially if you're going to be looking for funding, you need to have actual paragraphs. If you're not and you're planning on funding your business yourself, you still need to we really think you need to write these things down and be really clear about this. Otherwise, you're going to keep sort of fluctuating around and you're not going to be able to ground yourself in something that's actually going to make money. You need to be able to tell your clients, your business partners, your suppliers and so on, this is what we're doing. This is what is what we're attracting. If you just kind of say, well, I want to be free and open so that whatever comes along I can take advantage of, you're going to be chasing so many rainbows that you're never going to actually land on something that's going to make money. Okay. So the business concept outline form is available on Slack, and this is the next exercise we're going to be working on. And what we're going to fill in here is, again, more specifically, what exactly is the business idea that we're focusing on? And I'm going to repeat this in a number of different exercises where I want you to get more and more specific about what exactly is the service that you're providing, the value that it provides. You can put a little bit about your personal background. Then we're going to, later on, we're going to fill in the industry profile, target markets, and other key factors. Okay. So I've mentioned the Ann's Nursery again a couple of times. It's an example because most people find when we talk about this in a conceptual way, it makes sense. But when you actually start to write this stuff, you're like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be writing here. So you have something to refer back to. Feel free to use it as boilerplate and, literally take those sentences and reform them into your own. It's as a Word document, so you can cut and paste at will. Okay. So the first piece is the business idea. And so the business idea is, what is the problem that you intend to solve? And I encourage you to think about your business as a set of problems, that you intend to solve. So your customer has a problem and that creates an opportunity for you. And the more clearly you can define what that problem is that you want to solve, the easier it's going to be for you to create your targeting for your product. And so this is going to help us to create that and identify what is that differentiator? What is that special something that people should go to you and not your competitors? The other thing is about your own experience, which is, why is this the right business for you? So what are those things that you have that you're bringing to this business that are going to make it a success? Now, the industry profile piece, we're going to go into this in more depth. I've already posted on Slack a set of links and tools that you're going to use, because this is going to be your homework, is to start digging into what exactly is my industry. There is an actual classification number. The Department of Commerce has created this organization, the North American Industry Classification System, that codifies all these different kinds of businesses. You're going to need this when you do your LLC filing, when you do your tax returns, and other things. And there's going to be a series of other tools and industry classification items that are available to you that I've put all the links out there. They're also written on a sheet if you just want to download the Word document and put it someplace else to keep it someplace other than Slack. Then feel free to do that. And it's not my document; it's one that SCORE created. But I did update the links and add some fresh ones, and there was a couple that had changed to mergers and stuff like that. So, for example, the code for the Ann's Nursery business is 111421. So we get down to specific, classifications. A lot of this is also used for census information and for Department of Labor information to classify different kinds of businesses. And this is useful to you because you're going to then be able to look up and see what kind of macro data there exists for your business. Is your business a growing business, or is it a flattening business? You can see that in this model that there's a sort of a life cycle curve that industries and businesses go through. So when things are really emerging, right? So right now we are electric cars as an emerging business. You're going to see this rapid growth cycle. Not a lot to depend on, to build on, not a lot of good suppliers necessarily, but a lot of risk involved here, but this is where the growth cycle happens. Then organizations start to mature, and they have some organization, some predictability to it, and then they start to decline and they're replaced by other things. This is what an economist named Schumpeter called creative destruction, in that things that have outgrown their usefulness start to fall away and new businesses come into play, or they become very, very small, right? So are there still somebody out there making buggy whips? Maybe the last greatest buggy whip producer is still there for the rare people who are still using buggy whips. But since most of us aren't driving buggies anymore, not a big demand for buggy whips these days. So you can see that there can be declines that can be slow or fast, but then there's also reinvention. And there are organizations that have continually reinvented themselves, big organizations. IBM is probably one of the most classic examples. I don't know if Krishna is in class today, but he's an ex-IBMer. I'm an IBM baby. My father was an IBMer. And so this is a company that has been successful, but has constantly reinvented itself. You don't have to be on the scale of IBM to do that. We're also going to be looking at target markets, and we're going to be doing this over the next couple of weeks as well. Who exactly are your customers? The more specific you can be about who your ideal customer is, the easier it's going to be for you to target your business to them. And then we'll also have some other factors that we're going to be considering. Who are our competition? Who are our suppliers? How much risk is involved in this business? And many, many other things. So we're going to capture all of this stuff in this document. Okay. So for what I want you to do now is, again, we're going to go back into breakout rooms and work on this exercise. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to, again, what I want you to do is come up with the specific services that you are delivering. And then if you also have time, you can talk about, what is it that, you would be able to say to your client or to a banker or someone else that you need to involve in your business about, what is it that are your selling points for you to be doing this business. And you're going to have to condense a lot of this down into what a lot of people call the elevator speech. And that is, if you only have somebody's attention for a few seconds, what is it that you're going to say to them to be able to explain what you're doing and draw them into your conversation? Does anybody have any questions? All right, off you go.
You're welcome.
All right. How was that exercise for you?
It was an eye opener. Good.
Good. What you said it was an eye opener? Why was that?
Linda challenged me with the elevator, asking me if I had 30 minutes or if I had a minute to, someone asked me, what do I do or what my business provide. I have to be able to say within that minute time frame what I do and what I can do to help.
Actually, half a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say a real
30
elevator
seconds.
speech is
No,
actually
30 seconds. That's what we talked about.
or even just a sentence, a
Yeah,
sentence that draws people in,
Right.
And so you say, well, what do you do for a living?
Right. What do I do?
I help people discover their own strengths. Whatever, you want to come up with something that's more specific to your business and that is something that makes people want to say, really, tell me more.
I have a friend who works for the Internal Revenue Service, and when asked, he used to answer, I help people who forget. Think
I like
about
it.
that.
I like it.
I actually saw a title of a book, How to Get Your Point Across in 30 Seconds or Less.
Oh.
The irony of it was the book was like 80 or 90 pages long.
So the odd thing about it is, in order to give this really short answer, you have to give it a great deal of thought
Right.
and really pare down to what is that core value, that core click that is so important for you and your potential client, that's going to, create this spark that enables you to create that business relationship. And I encourage you to practice this exercise with lots of people. Certainly get a mentor. We have lots of tools to help you do this and do that. But don't limit yourself to that. You want to also, try this every time. Well, these days we don't get in a lot of elevators, but whatever other venues you have for contacting, for being in contact with people, keep trying this out. It gets polished when you do that, and that's really important to do that polishing exercise. Okay. The next piece we're going to work on is starting to understand who is our client and what is their need. So we're going to start identifying, and this and again we're going to work on this for the next two sessions as well. We're going to keep going deeper and deeper, unpeeling this onion. But the first cut of this is, who exactly are my client, my customers? What is this industry that we're in? And then we can start looking at who are the competitors and what's going on in this industry. Are there any trends? So this is called market segmentation in fancy market speak. But really what we're trying to understand is, who are these people that have need of our services? In other words, who is the owner of the problem? What do we know about them? Right? Do they fall into a particular age group? Are they of a particular gender? Do they live in a specific neighborhood? Are they at a certain economic level? Do they have a particular health issue or something? And you're going to start characterizing this client. Now, there's a lot of different sources for information about your customers. So once you understand who that market is, then I'm going to encourage you to go out on the web and start doing some research about that client. Collect articles, collect ads from other competitors, collect any kind of census information. So there's, like I said, the Department of Commerce has a group of different organizations that publish all this different data, all of those. In fact, I'm going to jump off. I'm going to end this share for a second. Oh, there it is. Stop the share. And I'm going to jump over to Slack. So we can just take a look at this for a second. Okay, so here's our Slack channel. And so for this week's exercises here, you can see that I posted, the things that we're using in class today. But also over here under marketing, where is it? Yep, now I got to figure out where I put it. There's well, I'm going to have to go back and find it now. But I put a tool up here that has it's a Word document, but also a whole set of links that you can use to, oh, here it is. It's under resources. That's where I put it. Okay. So here's a document that has all of these links on a single page, but you can page through all of these other links that I've put here so that they're live links from everybody from, here's the NAICS. So first of all, I want you to find out what your industry classification code is. You can also look under the link for the Bureau of Economic Analysis to see what the various areas, like your particular demographic or your target area, what's the economic status of that area. So for instance, you can look up your own township or Bucks County here. You probably in the SEC may not be interesting to you right now because you're probably not dealing with a public company. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics, what is the working, how many people are working? What's the income in a particular area? Obviously, there's also us. So you have that. Trade associations, is there a professional association associated with your particular industry? If there is, consider joining that community. There's a lot of useful information about what are the best practices. Sometimes a trade organization, if there's a professional standing or something like that, and they have a strong organization, they offer different kinds of benefits to members. They could be offering, for example, insurance policies that are specific to your type of business. So for instance, when I joined a coaching organization as a certified coach because I wanted to get insurance for my coaching practice, I was able to buy that kind of insurance through my professional association, and so on. So you're gonna go through all of these different research sources and look up as much information as you can find about the industry that you're thinking about entering into. Questions about any of that?
Kathleen, I'm just not seeing the same menu that you're seeing. I'm not sure why my menu looks so different than it used to.
In Slack?
Yeah. I mean, none of the things that were there last week are showing up on my list. I have very few, menu options. I'm not sure why.
What device are you using?
I'm using a laptop.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
I can't find anything that you're talking about. There's 7 files that I can access on here. That's it.
Okay, so on the far left, do you see things with a lot of hash marks on the side?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking for the hash mark that says research.
Yeah, I don't have one. That's what I'm saying.
See if there's a drop down. Or if there isn't, then do a search for hash research.
Okay.
And it should pop up.
Yeah, I've only got eight channels, and I know there are way more than that. So I'm not sure why I lost them.
All right, let's talk about that offline unless somebody else is having the same problem.
Yep.
Okay. The thing with the Slack channels is that if you don't want to be bothered with them, you don't have to. So you can join or not join them. You should have automatically joined all of them when I invited you in. But if I created one after you had joined, you may have to go to find it. So I will make sure that I invite everybody to join the research Slack channel just in case it's not showing up on your screen.
Yeah, Kathleen, this is a D. I also don't have that. I have about 9 of those hashtags, but I don't have the research. Yeah.
I think it's
I
the
had a similar
resources.
problem, but when I went in,
Okay.
when I used the Slack username of that score SST SYB Jan 2020, that's when I was able to go back in and see all of the materials off to the left. And that came in on the initial email, after I had registered.
Okay. So you went back and reopened it from from the initial invitation?
Exactly. Because when I went to go and save that bookmark on my, bookmark menu bar, it asked me to sign in,
Okay.
and so I'm putting in my own personal information and it didn't come up. None of that stuff came up. That's when I went back to that very initial link
Okay.
that was shared.
All right. So then that may be useful to you. That link that's on that first slide in the beginning of our talk today for Slack, click on that again and see if all of this stuff comes up for you. If not, message me and I will figure out how to make it work for you.
Okay, actually, I
Maybe
think
different for everybody.
I think I figured it out. There is a hashtag and there's also a plus sign. So I guess when you are joining the channel, the plus sign on the left turn into a hashtag. So I don't know if that helps.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Since I'm already in everything, they all have hashtags on mine.
So it
Yeah.
may
So
be
if,
helpful. Mhm.
yeah. So if you see a plus instead of a hash, press the plus. Great. Thank you for that. See, we're all learning. All right. So some of the things that I want you to start looking for are your competitors. Who's already in your industry and you're doing the work that you're doing? I'd like you to identify at least a handful of competitors and do some research on the basics. How much do they charge? What features do they offer? If you can figure out, how much business they're actually doing or their marketing strategy, that's all going to be really useful information to you. Okay. There may be specific competitor information for your particular type of business. Since we have quite a variety of businesses here, and they're all going to be a little bit different. So you're all going to have to, find something specific. Again, this is your mentor can help you figure out where specifically can we look more, for your particular information. So here's an example of what you might get if, say, looking from census.gov, right? So we all just completed our census, and there's a lot of information that the Census department publishes about things. So, for example, what are the income demographics for a particular town, zip code, state, and so on. Hoovers was actually taken over by Dun and Bradstreet, I think. So there's less of this information. This is yet another example of, less competition in a market, which is really a shame because Hoovers had a lot of interesting information. But for the most part, this isn't going to be that interesting to you because these are large public companies. And most of you are probably not starting a business that's ready to compete with General Electric. There's also information about, risk-related information. So here's an example of some information that Ann's Nursery may have wanted to look up about agriculture. What are some of the different numbers related to people who are also in the nursery and tree production business. Okay. Community information. And again, here are a bunch of these websites. They're also on Slack. They're also on that sheet that you can download. You can also find these links if you look on the SCORE website. Now, one of my favorite resources that is definitely not getting enough use these days are librarians. I realize that it's not a lot of if you're practicing good COVID practices, you may not be going out into public places like libraries, but all of our libraries here in Bucks County are online, and you can call these folks. Librarians are one of those people that have super great education. Most of these people have like master's degree level education in research, and they're people who read a lot of books. So they are a super great resource for finding all different kinds of information. So if you're looking for something very specific and you don't know where to look, call your local librarian. They will know. I have a really good friend who's a librarian, and man, she is just the most fabulous resource for, it's like when, when I was a kid, my mother would say, I don't know, call the New York Times. Well, yeah, she's like calling the New York Times. Oh, my camera's still off. I'm sorry. I turned it off because my internet was being a little wonky. The other thing I want you to think about are what are the marketing trends that are going on right now? So we're in a really strange economy. We're in this, they call it the K-shaped economy. So we've got some people who are doing really, really well, and some people are not doing very well. There's a whole new set of politics going on. We've got environmental, physical environmental issues, but we also have other kinds of environmental ways that we can think about these things. So what's going on in your market? Is this, is this a particularly good time for your business or not? Strangely, during the past year with COVID, we have had a huge upsurge in people starting businesses, which is really great because that's wonderful for all of us in our economy, is for people to be starting new businesses. Some of it is people are just saying, you know what, I've had it up to here, and it's, there's so many other things going on. It's time to make a change. Some people have had more time on their hands, lots of other reasons. But there is a real, there are waves of change happening these days. So, do your research, read the papers, find out what else is going on. You're going to see a lot of articles about small business, lots of good information that can be really useful to you. And if you find something that's really fabulous and you want to share it, you can post on Slack too. So we'll all be happy to absorb some new information from each other. Okay. In some cases, you can call your competitors directly and talk to them. You may have mutual suppliers if you're going to be in that kind of business. You can actually use your competitor services and find out what it's like to be their client and use that for your own research. And we're gonna focus on pricing next week more deeply. But for now, what I want to do is just start the beginnings of having something on your piece of paper to start your competitive research work. So again, we're going to do another last exercise, but this one, we're not going to go into the breakout rooms. We're just going to do it individually. There is a form if you want to use that on the Slack channel that is, some different kinds of information that you may want to capture about your competitor. Mostly what we're going to be looking for are what is their pricing, what are their key benefits, how big are they, and what's their marketing strategy. So take a few minutes to write this down. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I'm going to put myself on mute so I don't disturb you. And then when we come back, I'd like you to share some of your ideas, but also any questions that you have. If you want to start looking at some of these research tools, that's perfectly fine as well. Okay. Any questions? All right, so we will set a 5-minute clock and then we'll come back and debrief.
There's a lot of resources out there. You could dive right in and be doing this for hours.
Yeah, this is not a 5-minute exercise, but that's one of the reasons it's useful to, sort of have a mentor. But I want you to at least have a little start so that you feel like you've got that first step, because sometimes that first step is the hardest one. Anybody else?
I have a question. How deep do you go in this research depending on the type of business or the size of the business that you want to be?
That's a really good question. I think, obviously there's a huge amount of variation, and you don't want to get into analysis paralysis where you're spending months and months just looking at a bunch of data and waiting for magic to some sort of magical answer to emerge from that. but there's a lot more information about the business that you want to enter into already there that you may not be aware of. So, having a, taking a look at what is already out there can really be quite helpful. I would say that if you feel like you're not getting any useful questions that are coming up for you, like, what else do I need to know about that? Then you're probably done. Then you're on a wrong track. And then, whatever that question is, you can do another search, or you can talk to another person to say, what's the meaning of this. Remember that the point of data is to help you make better decisions. Data that does not support a decision is bureaucracy. Okay. Whatever data you're gathering.
Yeah, because I think it takes away the gut feeling that somebody has, or just have a desire to do something and figure it out if you fall on your face. Like, I have a customer who wants to open, or I have a client who wants to open a small restaurant of African ethnic food.
Okay.
Because he thinks that there is a need for it, and people would pay for it, because a lot of people have told him that, hey, your mom does the greatest this dish or that dish. And does he really need to figure out, and he is limited in a certain town, to say, this is where I want to do it? Should he be looking at what is the average income of people in that town? What is the average age group in the city or surrounding area? And what are the restaurant business? How many millions of dollars it is worth? And things like those. Or he should be more focused on, what kind of licenses do I need? How much space would I need? How would I calculate that?
Well, maybe it's both and instead of an either or. I would suggest that if you were going to be a restaurant that's offering a very specific niche type of food like that, I'd want to be sure that I'm in a market that's going to appreciate that. So, native African food is not pizza. It's not something everybody in America may know about or eat on a regular basis. So it might really be important to understand, where are the people who would want to patronize that business be? Do you need to be in a particular demographic market because there are natives who would appreciate that kind of food, or people who eat a broader variety of ethnic cuisines? I mean, when I lived in New York, that was one of the fabulous things about living in New York. There was no cuisine that you could get if you wanted to eat it. When I first moved out here, there were cuisines that I wanted to eat that I couldn't find in the entire county. Well, at least the top half of the county. I live in the less populated end of the county. So that can be an important factor, especially for a restaurant.
Okay, I mean, that was just an example, but in general, I was trying to point out or asking to say, do we have some sort of a guideline besides just the gut feeling that, you really don't need to look into that, or yes, look into all of it, or not into these things because they don't apply to you?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons it's helpful to have a mentor who can kind of guide you for the specifics of, your particular business, so that you don't get, you don't want to go in a rabbit hole that you're just,
right.
You're just busy doing useless Google searches rather than actually doing things that are important to your business. But if you are making a decision, such as, where am I going to locate my shop, then doing some of this research is probably very useful. If you've already picked the location and it's the only location you intend to use, then that research may not be all that useful to you. unless you say, you know what, I really want to open a restaurant here, but maybe something a little broader would be more effective than, you know, a very narrow niche cuisine.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions? All right. What will get in your way from doing your homework?
Distractions.
I'm sorry?
For me, it would be distractions.
Distractions. Okay. So what's going to be helpful for you to sort of manage those distractions?
I implemented a self-development for myself every day.
Okay.
I don't do.
Put it on your calendar then. This is the day I'm going to work on my homework, right?
Yep.
Good. Good tool. Anybody else?
For me, just being able to access those files.
Okay.
Kathleen, I private message you about the NAICS resource about finding the business category that I need to research, but I couldn't find the specific business category there. Do you have any other suggestions on where I can find more about it?
You couldn't get the link to work, or you just couldn't find your category?
No, I couldn't find my category. I'm in the yoga business, and I just couldn't find it listed there, unless I'm looking in the wrong place. I don't know.
Probably looking in the wrong place. It may look like an unfamiliar, broader category name. Do you have a mentor?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Okay.
Ask your mentor to help you look through that.
Okay. I will. Thank you.
Good. Anybody else? Okay. So what I'd like you to do for next week, because we're going to use it, or next 2 weeks, is to collect some of this key competitive information. So identify at least 2 or 3 competitors and find out a little bit about them. You know, some of this stuff may be more or less accessible or important to you, but it's going to be important for you to understand, is this going to be viable for you as a business? So, you know, what are the different kinds of pricing strategies? I'm going to try and find some other things beyond what's posted related to this class to help you understand some pricing models if you want to go and do a deeper dive on that. I know that SCORE does have other like on-demand workshops for this, and they have, and I believe there's a webinar coming up next month about pricing that I'm looking forward to seeing too, because you can never learn enough about pricing strategies. It's always a tricky element of every business. So we'll continue to ferret out more information about that next week. And I have put an online Google survey on our Slack channel for feedback about the workshop. It's always useful if you give me feedback so that I can improve it in real time, since we have 4 more sessions. If there's things that I can do to make it work better for you, please let me know. I don't take anything personally, so don't go ahead and be as blunt as you like. All right. So any other questions or closing comments? Well, thank you again for joining us, for giving us an hour and a half of your time. And again, if you haven't got a mentor, get in touch with us. Let us help you find one. And if you have problems with your homework, post on Slack or reach out to me. And I will see you here, same bat time, same bat channel, 2 weeks from today.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. Thanks for doing this.
Go and make money.
All right.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.